continuing the theme of secrets. This one is rather a nice picture. Here I'll show it to you, and you can see the photograph has the chest, the legs and the middle torso of the figures showing. The face is what's going on behind, very secretive behind this tree. They're not aware they're being photographed, and we're not sure what they're talking about. We see them both involved in the newspapers, having their own little private space as they have their early morning breakfast here in France. So let's see if we can just capture that feeling, and again the secrets again. Again, I want to keep it nice and simple. I'm going to use the roller at first, just to cover these areas and block them all up, and then go back in with the brush to do all the final details again. There we are, that's just little areas, just little flicks of colour like this that just might help to bring it out a bit. Well, we've got 4 more drawings worked out now for this series of secrets. I'm not going to waste time introducing each one of them. This one is a family one, which is more unusual. Rather than just have the figures in streets or figures in cafes, I got this rather beautiful photograph of the archetype family, the 2 little children and the mother and father sitting at a French table, and enhance the colours to make a picture out of it. So we'll use the scene as an image, as this secret time, as this time as they talk amongst themselves and share their lives. But we'll also use this composition to hang the colours into and make an abstract or semi-abstract figurative picture into it. And then we'll go on to the rest of the series and finish off in various cafe scenes and so on after this. Well, this time we've got a student coming again. Last time you saw me working next to her, demonstrating how to do the roller and the acrylics, to do a very loose night cafe scene. This time we're going to work loose again, but as you want to learn different techniques and different ways of working in this looser method, I'm going to use acrylic inks, these rather nice FW inks. So here, I find them one of the brightest. They're not that cheap, but they're very good. And the beautiful thing is that they are semi-transparent, not completely, very luminous. You don't want to work over them too much or they become dead. But you can work them onto either white canvas or watercolour paper. I'm going to work onto a hot press paper, a smooth press paper here now, because I want a smooth surface for the subject that I'm doing, which is the market scene again in France. If I was doing something like snow, then I might use a rough or a knot paper because of the rougher surface. I'm going to use this with a wet in wet technique to put all the bright colours of this picture behind. Again, it's one I've done before. I've done it in oils in France before now, and I'm tempted to do it again with a very large canvas at some stage. It would be really nice to do big. But just for the moment we'll use it for this, and we'll paint all of these bright colours behind with the inks to get that luminosity wet into wet. And what I'm going to do then is demonstrate the new dark pastels from the SAA. We've got all the SAA pastels out here in front for the lighter colours if I want to enhance or lighten them up. But the deep green, the deep blue and the deep purple are what we're going to use for the darks over the top to cut into the acrylic inks and show another way of using the SAA pastels as well. They're a very useful range to have. There's almost a full range of colours in the SAA pastels as it is, and they're a very good buy for what they are. In fact, there's slightly more weight to them and more to them than even some of the more expensive pastels, and these are more reasonably priced. But they didn't have a dark range, so I did ask them to do this, and they've come up with these three lovely colours. We did experiment with them earlier on. Last Easter you saw me using them in my film over in the Dales, when we were doing all the daffodils and so on. So what we'll do is then we'll cut into these light colours of the acrylic inks once they're dry, build up, and put any highlights back in with the brighter colours of the pastels as well, to show you how we can work very quickly, very loosely, and let the glowing colours come through the darker pastels. So we're going to use a wash brush first to wet the paper. Got our inks ready here. Just a nice thin coat of water all the way across. Yes, so we just want a nice even coat. Yeah. We want it to dry back just slightly, so we don't want it too wet or everything just be running out of paper. Not that it matters, everything does. And one of my experiences with this, which is rather fun, is this is a lovely technique to use when you're painting gardens as well, because it's very bright and vibrant. And when you paint it, everything just runs everywhere and it goes totally loose and mad. And people have come round when I've been doing this and say, oh, what a mess, you can't paint, and then they've come back half an hour later and been absolutely amazed how you pull it all back together. I've also got a sprayer here, just in case we need to dampen things as we go along. Acrylic inks, once they're dry, can't be shifted like acrylic paints. So we want to paint wet into wet, we have to keep them wet if we want to do that, okay? We're not too worried about that at the moment though. You're not going to need the pastels for the minute, so we'll just have to paint the picture there ready for us. We've enough water on there and that just clean our brushes now. We want to start with the lightest things. So we just tip it into the yellow and hope to see how wet the paper is. That's not too bad, look. It's nice. I'm going to put the darker colours over the lighter, so look how lovely and vibrant that is. We'll start with our very light colours. We're not going to leave any white paper behind because we're going to put our whites back in with the pastels later. So don't worry about painting out your white paper, that's not going to matter. So I'm going to go right down through where the whites are here, deliberately, because I'm going to paint that back in later. Right down, right through where the whites are here, quickly, because we don't want hard edges either. You can see already how that's drying. Yeah, we want it nice and wet to paint these wet into wet effects into, and it's pretty dry in this conservatory today, so
it's warm.
Yeah. So right down to the people. Yeah, use it fairly strong. Don't thin it down too much, if at all. And wherever these little bits of yellow, while you're on your brush, wherever you see them now, you put them in. And it's only a few minutes later that the spray really works in and things start to sink. So I was doing these cows that I was painting for them for fun, and I sprayed it once, nothing happened. I sprayed it again twice, and then suddenly, about 5 minutes later, the whole cow started moving down the paper. They were all sliding down. The kids thought it was great fun. I managed to put it back together again, but just be aware of that. You can thin them down, of course, if you want to make it slightly thinner anywhere, or mix them. So I'm going to make a slight mixture of the orange now with the yellow, and to make it just a slightly deeper, an in-between colour, just down through some of these areas here like this. It's slightly stronger because I want this lovely vibrance of these colours. If you use a thinner coat of the red, drop it right down through there. There's a bit of red behind here, take some off the paper here where there's too much. Again, it looks too strong at the moment, but it won't be when I've put the pastels over it later. There's reds going on in these onions hanging up back here behind those figures. There's a bit of red. You just thin it down a bit, don't want it too thick. We start to drop into her face here, which is quite dark against the... So these darker, richer tones now that I want to try and find. Right, now I'm going to go to my next lightest colour, which is the very light green. And I'm just going to plonk in some of the greens back here before it gets any darker. It's drier. Don't worry if it dribbles down like that there, we're going to sort that out later. Again, right along the front here, I can bring that back in with some pastel a bit later on, but let's not worry right now. And you can see how we can use it thinner or thicker there. Really look for these colours, surprising where they are. Just indicate her eye there with that. As I can do a lot with the inks before I even get to the pastels. Across that red, same with him, a little bit thinner. We'll just let that bit of face just gleam there, same with her. Just indications, we're doing an impression of this, we're not trying to copy it. See how fast it dries as well. We can right up through here. Nice and loose. Lose all the white paper. We're going to paint darks in later with the pastels. Bit of dark green I'm putting in here now. Actually working down to my slightly darker colours. And I'm almost ready to start on my deeper blue. A bit more yet of the purples. Where it's a bit warmer in places. Very, very loosely. Using the tip of the brush most of the time. And even start to get some texturing going. It's on this basket here, I'll just put a little bit of texture in there. So I'm painting wet into wet now to let this flow out and give the illusion of things happening, just indicating legs of trestles and Take some purple and go back into that still again. Go darker still. Painting wet into wet to get these lovely effects. Trestles, darkness of her, shadow coming down there. So we're painting wet next to dry, we're painting wet into wet. Remember, you can use it thinner again, so we can make that blue a little bit thinner to paint some of these lovely stronger blue areas in down here. Just indicating. Now we've done about a quarter of an hour, and see how much we've produced in that time. It's quite a lot. You think, what on earth can you do with this mess now? But we can actually turn it into a painting. I've almost now achieved losing all of my paper. Little sparkles a bit left here and there. I'm deliberately going to put washes of colour where the darks are going to go later as well, just so that glows through. I'm going to go to my deeper blue, my Prussian blue, start working some of that into these details underneath. But even, I've had students that have done this and they've been very tight with their watercolours. They've come in and they've learnt this technique and they've suddenly stopped and said, hey, look what I've done. I don't need to do any more, I don't even need to put the pastels on. I just like it as it is, you know. Mm. So it's quite possible that you end up with something that you like even before going towards the pastels. And there's nothing to say you have to carry on. I'm going to just take my fine brush now, because we've done nearly all the work with a bigger brush that we can do. Take a little round brush and just tickle in some of these details. Right, so I'm about ready to think about pastels now. There we go, so let that dry off and you just need to catch up and we're there. Right, I'm now going to move forward on the pastels just while you're finishing off and say blend this together, spray it if you need to, let the things run one into another, get rid of all these bits of white. Yeah, don't have any hard edges, get a lot more colour going underneath. The colour wants to glow through. So I want to start with these lighter colours, so let's just take some white and deliberately go back in now and show how we can use these lighter colours to cut back in, for instance here. So these SAA pastels doing their job, nice and soft here. We can now put back in any light areas that we've lost. Lovely effects of light we can get. Remember, these SAA pastels, although they're slightly cheaper than some of the more well-known brands, I've actually found that there's more weight in them. They're actually giving you more for the money than the more expensive ones, so worth considering. Right.
Picture!
Yep, I'm catching up. That's the way, that's coming now, yeah. See, now you go back to the lighter colours that I was using here. Back up here again. And we start to work in the other tints that we want. So if we want a bit of light colour, for instance, there on the face, I can now put it in.
I think I'm ready to go to my pastels now.
Yeah, as soon as you think you're ready, just move ahead. And this is only experimental work for you anyway, isn't it? Just to get used to it. So.
No, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's a really nice feel actually.
We did that loose work the other day with the rollers, now we're trying
Yeah.
it with this, it's good fun, yeah. Right, a bit of yellow, sort of stronger yellow here. Go just between and these little bits of onions, and let's start on these actual, talking about onions, and then to start on the actual things here now. We'll start to actually put these fruits and veg in, just indicating them again. We're not going to go into too much detail, just want to get the feel of them. Really start looking at the colours, if there's strong oranges or strong colours. Now's the time we can put them in. If we miss them with the inks, we can put them back in with the pastels. Even the blues, if we've lost any of the blue anywhere, we can put the blue back in again. I want to start working on my darks now, so I've got these lovely 3 darks here. I've got the purple, the blue and the deep green. I'm going to start with my purple, working into the back of her hair here, and the back of this jacket, just indicating the darks. Not too much, just a little bit. Where I need to be lighter, and I can take a lighter colour and just put that back in as well. So for instance here, I want that mouth just showing, I'm going to just use a bit of this purple to shade back in there. To my dark again, and really start to work in the different warm and cool darks. The blue being the cooler, the warm being the more purple. So not only have we got colour intensity and tone with these, we've also got the difference in the colour hues and the warms and cools, which we can use to our advantage. We can put all of these darks in now and leave the other colours glowing through, and blend if you want to as well over it. Look, this is £140 Arches hot press paper. I haven't even gone to my deep blue yet or deep green, so just using this purple at the moment to build up some of the warmer tones into here. You see what I'm doing now, can't you? I mean, you're pulling it all together. So now I'm just drawing back in, and you can cut in to the outside, or you can cut in from the inside. You can do as I'm doing now on the inside look, and work it in. Or if I want to come back on that, I can say, right, I want to cut in from the outside, and I'll deliberately take these colours like this, and just cut in from the outside like that. So we can go either way, indicating a bit lighter down here. So we can put in shades, whatever we want, like using this purple now. Can go into him or onto this fella here, and just tint over, letting that colour glow underneath. And well on the way with this picture now. I'm going to go across to my dark, this colour's over there, to my dark blue, and start to add in my, you can see the difference in that warmer dark blue now, coming in there. You see the difference in the purple and the blue there, the deep purple and the blue. We're going to use the deep green in a moment back here in amongst the vegetables. She needs to be a lot darker in there. So starting loose, we can finish tight. If we start tight, we're stuffed from the very beginning. Put some lettering across here. Well, we can't go loose again from tight very easily. Yes, we can start with a tight drawing and work loosely within it. But it's very difficult to work tight into a loose area afterwards. A deep blue, even into her eye here. Around her mouth here. I'm going to start using the deep green, which gives me a nice warm green going on here. I want that down amongst the vegetables here. We have to decide part way through this just what is finished, because you know it's very hard, it's very easy to overwork something like this as well. But to say, well, have we done enough? That works. My deep purple again there. Okay, we'll keep working backwards and forwards this way. We can put lights in, we can put darks in whenever we want.
Faces here.
This is the same, I'm struggling the same over here. You've just got to try and block in basic colours and just keep it simple as possible. But you're very red at the moment, so I've been using the lighter purples. These two purples are very useful.
Right.
Here you see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't need too much. Just to feel these vegetables are here. Really look for these colours. I mean, I'm not far off from my point of view being finished now. I don't think I need to do a lot more on this one. I've got the impression that I wanted. Two little bits of warmth to go in yet. This is the first colour I've come across that isn't working well. I've got the deep red here and it's very hard. Otherwise these colours so far have worked very well as a test. Now I think from my point of view I'm about finished on that. I like a nice loose piece that's not really heavily, highly finished. What do you think?
Yes, it's finished. You don't want any more.
So, it's interesting when you see black against it, look how dull that is compared to the dark colours.
Yeah.
It's just sooty, it's horrible. Now we'll use a dark to do my signature. There we go.
Very nice, Peter.
Now it's got to get yours done.
I think I get the idea. I just have to be faster with the acrylics, the inks.
And slightly wetter, that's right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
looser.
Yeah.
And use them as a background, let you know that they're going to glow through.
Yeah.
So. Well, we're on to one of the final pieces of this series of 15 of secrets, and this is a very complicated piece. So I think this time I'm going to actually show you the colours as I go along. I'll discuss mixing with them. Normally I just run through it quickly, but this time I want to actually do it in slightly longer sections and explain the colours as I go along doing them. because we've got a whole series of facets of colour here. Very complicated piece. We're going to treat it in that jigsaw method of mine, where I just simply put the right colours in the right places, relevant one to another, comparing them relevant one to another. And if you put those right colours in the right places and the right shapes compared one to another, the whole painting will just appear like a jigsaw being put together. So when we've got it on the roller or on the brush, if it's here and it's here and it's here, we do that. We don't just do one and then mix it again. We do all the colours all the way through it and then gradually compare them as we go up and change them. And then we'll finish with the brush at the end, having done all the roller work. So fairly loosely at first, then gradually tightening up just enough to give a quite contemporary feeling to it. So all I'm going to need here is my cobalt blue, my cerulean blue, my ultramarine blue, my Prussian blue, and I've got some black for this. I don't normally work with black, but I am with these paintings. Some turquoise, some emerald green, some viridian green, a light magenta and a dark magenta, some deep cadmium red, some cadmium light red, some deep orange, cadmium orange, some cadmium yellow, some chrome yellow, some lemon yellow, yellow ochre, deep purple, violet's good, titanium white or white, burnt umber, burnt sienna. Those colours are plenty for this painting, and I shall be using a lot of colour in it as well. As you know, I like to get this nice and vibrant and bright. Now for applying the paint, I've got my mixing palette here, and then I've got another palette or tray here with the small roller. It's only about a 1.5 inch roller. Just nice for the work I'm doing. I do have larger ones, but I don't need larger ones. I should need just probably about 3 of the filbert brushes, mainly for mixing and some painting, and a couple of small rounds as well later. So very few brushes actually needed for this, very few materials actually required, just the basics. Well, here we go then, let's make a start on this painting. Take one of my filberts first of all, and we'll look at the colours here and work towards, from the lighter colours towards the medium and then into the darkest towards the end, and then come back with the highlights at the very end as well. So first of all, I want to look at these sort of light grey yellows going on here. It's a very complicated picture. There's just so many colours going on. It's almost too complicated for the roller, but we'll give it a go, and then we'll come back with brushes over this, because there's a lot of smaller marks to put in. We've got hundreds and hundreds of different colours to mix here. It's actually quite tempting to do it just with the brush rather than the roller this time, but I do like the effects of the roller. So we'll start off with these mid-grey yellows then. So I'm going to use a little bit of, obviously start with white, a little bit of lemon yellow, fairly light colours first of all, and then I can add this to this colour as I go along, which means that I can add other colours to this to gradually darken it. And start with a sort of like greeny colour there first of all, just like a little touch of green to that lemon yellow and white. And now we'll just get the roller going by rolling it over the brush to get some of the paint out of the brush and into the mixing tray. And let's start to look at, straight away look at these colours up in here. Beautiful colours going on in this. And we'll leave bits of white canvas at the moment showing through. But when it becomes slightly over things, it's quite nice to have a slight overlap of these colours, because all I'm doing really at the moment is underpainting. That comes just around there, down there. So I'm just really doing my underpainting here. I've got this green colour coming right up and through. At the moment it's fairly transparent because I'm using the paint quite thinly. And I want to just get this feeling of this colour glowing through here. Got to reach right across there. Not easy with the arthritis. So mixing more of that colour up, make it a bit thicker. Might need a couple of coats. So lemon yellow and white, and a little touch of emerald green. And lemon yellow and white, a little touch of emerald green. There we go. Get our first coat going. You still see the lines underneath at the moment, my drawing, so I can gradually build this up. So this method, the jigsaw method of mine, which you can use with a brush, with a roller, any way you like, of putting the right colours in the right shapes, in the right places, relevant one to another, and our picture just will gradually appear like a jigsaw being made. A little bit of warmth into it this time, a bit of yellow ochre, a bit of the green, mixing it up, making it slightly darker this time, so a bit of yellow ochre under the green, bringing it down to be a warmer, slightly more mustardy green, a bit more yellow ochre again into that. Even a little touch of burnt umber. More green. This time a little touch of viridian. Don't want too much viridian, it's a very strong colour. Yellow ochre, a little touch of burnt sienna. Want it warmer. Now we're getting there. Now the same roller, I haven't washed it off. You can just, as we're going gradually darker with the colours, you can just keep using the colour, because otherwise the rollers tend to soak up so much colour. When you wash them, they're a bit wet at the end, it's hard to get them going again. So let's just test this colour out now. Got a slightly deeper green. It's dark enough yet, we'll see. I can use the edge of the roller a bit more down there, just so I leave some of my texturing. Colours are constant, we've got colours running through everything. This green actually runs through everything here. Comes into all sorts of different places and colours. I'm quite a bit darker now. Even going to put a little bit of Prussian blue in just to really take it down now. Right, yes, that's a nice colour. There we go then, we'll get that onto him. Right up through the back of his head, some of these colours are coming through a lot of other different shapes. They tend to overlap. Just cerulean blue, Prussian blue, yellow ochre. Give it a little bit quicker. There's many mixtures of paints one can do to make this similar, almost the same colour actually. Down here. It comes down through there into the coat, and comes around the back of the coat here as well. Right round there. So these colours, we block them in when we've got them on the roller, and we go back in with other colours on top to cut them back again, to bring them back. It really is quite an important colour in this painting, it's all over. And the whole thing will just gradually come together as abstract shapes at first, which is what I'm trying to point out with this painting. It is an abstract painting which has figurative connotation. So as these shapes come together, the eye and the mind start to turn them into something, but it isn't, it's just paint. So we're actually telling a lie. I said to children years ago at school, I said, I'm going to teach you, you can tell your parents that your teacher's said he's going to teach you how to lie. How to lie well by making an illusion here of our figures. To build these colours up, I don't want canvas showing, so I'm building up these colours gradually here to lose all of this canvas. A bit of lighter colour into it, a bit of white, and we'll just start to indicate these wonderful lights here. Use this to build up background colours as well. To work within those, and around them and over them. But you need to lose this white at the moment. Very important. A little bit more of the darker magenta, red to it. Just a wee touch of versatility now. So I bring these colours warmer. Start to bring warmer colours in. Lovely embers and so on in the picture. Surprising how much green there is in things, how one colour comes into another. Got more viridian going on down here. Let's get that really strong viridian green going on now. Really do need to lose this white behind, so I'm having to build up with these greens a bit to do that. So the underpainting gradually coming forward now, losing all of this. And I can gradually see what I'm doing as well, which is useful. I think I'd like to bring some black into this fairly soon actually, but before I do that I'm going to use Prussian blue and black, make it just a medium tone. It's a lovely way to work. It's a very alive way to work. I don't know what I mean by that, but it's so lively in itself that it makes one get really involved actually into it. It's quite physical, it's quite tiring on the back, but it's great fun. Start to just see what's happening where here. Loads of paint required for this job. Now let's get these darks in and I can come back in with lights over the top, which is the beauty of the opaque paints. Where we paint with them, it's not like watercolour, which I'm going to be showing you later, where it's lights to darks. Here we can go either way whenever we want. It's fantastic. I'm painting in negative shapes here at the moment, positive and negative. We've got the back of the chair, which is dark, and we've also got the back of the space in between the chair, which is dark. So we're painting both in at the same time. Because they're so complicated that I really do need to gradually work this one up. Right, now we can see where we're going a little bit more. Which is good. I've almost got rid of all of the bits of white canvas, so I can just start to see where I need to put colours in now and lose these whites. Right, I'm going to start building up some of the lighter colours now again. So I'm going to take some white. I want to start looking at some of these warmer yellows and greens on here, yellowy greens. So white, a little touch of lemon yellow on this, a wee touch of blue just to bring it down, just a fraction. A bit more white because it's a bit thin, and a little touch of pink. Now let's see what we get with that. a little bit thin at first because when you just started mixing a new mix. So I've got that down again. I've got two chalices there, reflection of glass in the glass itself. Just indicate those for the moment, put them in properly later. Where these lights are, now we can put this colour in, put the lights over the top later, because they're going to really shine across that. I'm going to do the same here with these lights, to cover this area where the lights are with this light green, so that when I put the whites in of the lights, this colour's going to glow underneath and around it. The shininess of the edge of these lights and everything. What I'm going to actually do is go across this whole figure here as well. I want him to have that colour in just at the moment, And these people are starting to appear, aren't they now? Even though we haven't actually drawn them in. Gradually building it up lighter and lighter. Colour, we'll add some more emerald green to it, much more yellowy green. These lovely greens we can play with it will make yellow greens change as well, because if we put a warm in, then the cool seems cooler next to it, you see, so we can play with these different intensities of colour, different hues of colour as well, warms and cools. As we go on, around here for instance, we can get these lights going a bit greener around the outside here, before we put the lights in later, because they are there, these yellow greens. It's a lovely way to find colour working with the computer like this and playing, and then taking it further yourself afterwards like this. Some more greys to make again, so I'm going to take my cerulean blue again, a bit of magenta, cerulean blue, magenta. Give me with this yellow, it's going to give me a nice greeny grey in a minute. Haven't got a great deal of use for. We'll just bring it down a bit, a little more purple. So I've got a purple grey this time. There we are, a nice light purple grey, just what I wanted. A bit more purple into it, a bit more magenta into it. At the moment we're just using this lovely grey I've made. So this nice pink grey, just coming in all over the place, through here, up here. You find the colour wherever it is now, you can use it right through. And that pinky grey just around down here. I do need to come in there with a brush probably. These pink colours in, wherever they are. Down her back for instance, down here. It's very light actually there, so I won't put quite as dark as that. Just surprising what a difference just one bit of colour can make. You can put it in the right place and everything. Now let's try and get his face next. And again I'm going to have to tidy it up with the brush, but not to worry. Just get the basic impression at the moment. And that nice golden colour is coming down into the chandelier here. Isn't it just delightful how we can make something so complicated, just simplify it down to these few shapes. We've got to put the yellows in yet. We haven't really hit our yellows, only the greens. And while that colours on my roller, I need to find the back of her hair here. where it just comes down, that ponytail there. Back of her neck to here. We can indicate just a couple of coffee cups here in a moment. We need to move towards some more moves. Getting some of the purples down through here now. Start to find them a bit. A bit darker than that, in fact. I'll do that in a moment. Let's just indicate for the moment. Just find them. Just want to tidy up a bit of dark before I put the yellows in. There's some areas like this that just want finishing off a bit more. Tidying up bits of light canvas showing through and bits and bobs here. So I just want to bring these up before I continue putting any of the lighter colours in. Just so I know where certain things have got to go again. Now, I want to make that very deep purple blue from earlier. But it does now mean that I've now got rid of all of the whites that I don't want. And rediscovered shapes that I have lost a bit. Like brushes. So I'm going to mix my colours more directly. Perhaps a little more cleanly again now. Make that lovely light green that I had earlier with lemon yellow and white. And a little touch of the green. Get a feeling of these mirrors going on as well. And we're painting sharper edge objects now too. So we need to balance these yellows out that we've got now in the coat and have them reflecting in other places with the oranges so that the whole thing starts to pull together and becomes united. Because there's a lot more yellow going on in here now than that coat, which I haven't done until now. So now's the time. Have a go at it. Bit of orange into that. Start to look at these little highlights of warmer colours. Not to lose it too much. Be careful I don't overdo all of these marks. It is a very complicated picture, but even so we don't come to overdo the details. I need some more burnt sienna in and around the place. I think we need to get some of the browns going a bit more, which we haven't really hit yet. Only just touched on it. So let's take a bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of white into that, and just touch some of these slightly browner colours in places. Now then it's just a matter of gradually picking things out, and as I said earlier, we can work into things as much as bring them out. So if I want to make sure I get the right colours, because it's very tempting sometimes to go rushing on in and start using colours just to get work done before really checking that they're the correct ones. Now, as I was saying about working in with the darks, I take a smaller brush now, just take some of my lovely deep colour we made earlier with the Prussian blue and a little bit of cerulean. We can just work back into this shoulder and her face. Her eyes coming just into here. Nose comes down just under the nose there. All I want to do is indicate these beautiful greens that are happening back in here that I haven't again really pushed yet, just indicated. And let's just see what happens when I do take a bit of white. In this case with a very slight tint of blue in it. And we just lighten up a section here, for instance. A colour. And we just start to bring some of these lights out. What's happening behind here. Now you can see why I painted the underpainting earlier, to allow this to show through, to glow through the colours I'm doing now. And you see how the white now brings these colours out, and I've been using pretty pure colour as you see now. And the darker we make things around these lights, the lighter the lights will seem. So we put a few little bits of this dark in here and there to really bring out these bulbs. Now I don't want to overdo anything in this, especially now it's at this stage. But this is the time when I can start to just pick out some of these darks, showing a bit more translucency to it. You can do just so much impressionist, but other times you've just got to get in there and be a little bit more detailed, I'm afraid. Like I have here now, I feel I just need to get in here a bit more with these shapes and reflections that are happening behind her here. Don't always paint along things, as you can see just by painting across them, same with reflections especially, you get quite nice effects of light. It makes a nice mark. I'd say I don't normally use pure white, but now I'm working up to something like this. I want these stark contrasts with this artificial light, bright, strong, artificial light. I'm not being very representational. I'm not painting every light bulb or anything else here. I'm just impression, just an impression of it. Get the right colours and the right shapes as near as I can, one to another, and these objects will just have a feeling of being near enough what I'm trying to emulate. So I'm using lemon yellow now and a little touch of chrome just to bring it back a bit. And make it look as if it's very complicated, where in fact it's being reasonably simple, just painting bit by bit, look. Some dangers, they're becoming too many bits, too bitsy-itsy, so I've got to be careful now. And keep to pure colours. I've been losing my ultramarines here a bit, let's bring those back. Beautiful ultramarines are happening amongst the blues, which will help to mix things soon a bit more again, because we're losing colour here rapidly. Alright, now coming down to the final hurdles on this. So little bits of warm or cool doesn't matter so much wherever they're going to go. There's something isn't quite working still, but I can't quite see what it is. It could just be an angle somewhere. It takes a lot, it just takes a little something. Je ne sais quoi. C'est le problème. Let's hit the greens again. amazing how just even a few marks like that can make such a difference. Take these greens and we'll just look at some of the legs on here as well. It's a bit deeper. To decide when a painting is done, in this case it's difficult. It isn't quite hitting me as it should. There's just a few colours here and there that are required that I haven't quite found somewhere. When I do, it'll be there. I reckon I've actually almost done, but I can't see what it is that I haven't. That's the trouble, it's not quite there and I can't quite see why. Looks better. It takes a few marks in the right places, that's for sure. And there we go, I think. Call that one done. Another one bites the dust. Right, well this one, another cafe scene in Vienna. This time I'm not going to spend too long talking about the thing. At high speed I'll just create it in front of your very eyes so we can just see it flow through, okay? It'll be quite fun for you to see it just being created in that way. Get plenty of paint going. A little touch of the yellow ochre, a little touch of, I'm going to put a little bit of lemon yellow in just to enhance it slightly. And in fact I'm going to use a little touch of warm. I'm going to take a little bit of, now I'm doing something, you can see my colours more, a little bit of the very light magenta, just to give it a slight pinky tint. A bit more of that, so that when I do the lights in the chandelier they will really stand out. I'm doing these lighter areas first at the minute so I can bring over the window frame afterwards. You might be able to see there's a slight tint, pink tint to that now. I can just see my window frames underneath showing through because it's semi-transparent. There we go. So it's a very light tint of pink to this. Can always bring it back and put some more in later, but it's just a moment we'll just get some colour going. See where the drawing is underneath still. Right then, from now on, no more talking. You'll just see the colours. So off we go. Now I'm going to start with a little round brush, and I'll turn this, because you've got your own picky there, haven't you? So
Oh yes, of course I have.
because I'm going to need to work across this. So
we start with the figures.
yeah, I'm going to start with, so leaving the light. We're not going to use masking fluid on this.
No.
So we're going to have to leave the lights behind. So this girl, for instance, is quite light here. So I'm going to just take a little bit. Now, you've got aureolin yellow in there, that's that one. It's the top of that, that's that one there, yeah. Now that's a very light yellow, it's much nicer than lemon yellow. If I just touch it, you'll see. If I just put a little bit of this on here, now she wants to be about here. So you see how light lemon, lemon yellow is opaque, aureolin yellow is transparent.
Right.
It's so much nicer. Now we're going to paint wet next to wet and wet into wet. So here, I'm now going to take some of my cooler green, a little bit of the turquoise next to that yellow. I'm going to drop a little bit of the turquoise into the shadow into her here, just painting wet next to wet so it just flows in a bit. And that's giving me a light, cool shadow across her dress. So quite detailed at the moment, just using the effects of watercolour.
Where's the turquoise here?
Have you got one? Use a cerulean, otherwise that one, that's it, yeah, that's it. Just a little bit, okay, try and keep colours clean because you want them very light. Now against that, to make that appear cooler, I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue. If you watch what happens here, we've got the two cooler colours, so we've got the cool yellow here, we've got the cool turquoise. If I put a little bit of that warmer blue, look how it just makes, we're playing warm against cool, just letting it go wet into wet, look, just carefully, controlled accident, not total accident. So we get the cool and the warm. They're very delicate, very light, because I want to leave that bit light.
On
So-
just this one figure.
Just that one, we're just doing one at a time, we're painting by numbers
My
at the minute.
figures are so small that they're almost...
Now that quinquadrone gold I mentioned earlier, lovely gold. Right, so I'm going to now use something a bit warmer. I'm going to take some chrome yellow, which is a much warmer yellow. A little touch of it.
Where's that?
That's that one there. That's it. Yeah, no, that yeah. Well, that's that. That's it. Yeah, yeah. Chrome yellow. There's a tiny touch on the end of your brush. No, it's very opaque, so keep it thin.
Right.
And we're just going to touch the hair here and the whole of his face here, right through the whole thing there down into his body. Very small. And while I've got it on my brush, like I say, when I've got a colour on my brush, I tend to use it elsewhere. The only thing is with watercolour that we're timing it. So, you know, we don't want to put it on if we're not going to drop wet into wet or something. If we want it wet into wet, we've got to do it whilst it's still wet, obviously. So I've just painted the whole of that figure and the top of her head there. A little bit down the side. And I'm going to take a wee bit of rose. And while it's still wet, carefully now, I'm just going to drop a little bit of that warm colour back into the face here, down the front there, down the hair, just to catch the sunlight across there, so bit by bit. Now that rose, a little bit stronger now down here, so you see the difference now. Let's let that bleed in there, look, the weight's going downwards. So we've got a little bit of bright red rose just coming in, so we've got the softer colour going into the yellow, wet into wet, and then we made it a bit stronger just there. And while I've got that on my brush, I'm just going to touch it down here. It wants to be a little bit wetter, so I'm going to just wet my brush a bit and just dampen that in down here. So I'm going to wet my brush and just soften it in. Now purple, brushing ahead here, but we've got to do things while they're still wet, you see. So now I want the opposites to yellow is purple. I'm going to put a bit of this darker purple just around the feet here, and then the purple into the shadows. So we're playing a purple shadow on the figures, back of the head here. Quite detailed at the moment, just painting his hair in, and we can almost dot the I's and cross the T's. It's almost as detailed as that. down through into the darker bit here. So we're now picking out from lights to darks with watercolour, remember. And we've got the little figures almost finished there. Right. To finish that off, I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue. So I've used my purple, now I'm going to the ultramarine blue, which is obviously much cooler. We've used a slightly lighter blue. And I'm going to just put in a few of the deeper shadows here, into the arm, into the face, just a bit darker around him here, just down into those shadows there, around here. And that little figures, those little figures are there in the sunlight. We painted them as detailed as we really need to do. So now all those colours working together. So we've got the turquoise blue against the sap green. Right, if you're ready then, we're going to move on. Now, because we're painting light colours first, we can't mix white with it. If we want this pinky colour here, we've got to start with a lighter colour. So I'm going to use some cobalt violet there, which is just lovely. You can't mix this violet, so some colours you've just got to have in your palette. And this area here, look, this whole area here we'll use that very light cobalt violet, first of all, to paint the whole of that area, right through up into here. I want it to be light here. While I've got that on my brush,
Cobalt violet.
That's that pinky one, that's it there, yeah. It's a colour that you cannot mix, so it's very useful to have in your palette. And I'm going to have it on the woman's arm here as well while I'm at it, because I'm painting in quite detail at the moment, right through into her face, right through here, onto that girl's arm there, down the back there, keeping this quite light. Right through there at the moment. I want this colour coming all the way through. So the cobalt violet coming up into here. That's right through here. Even into the woman's legs down here. Painting this in quite detail at the moment because this is our focal point. We've got all of this loose work finished. The eye is going to be drawn down to there. Now while that's still wet, not too wet, while it's still wet, we take some of the rose. And we want this arm here to be much redder, so I'm going to just drop a bit of that rose in there. Look how bright that is and looking colourful. Now remember, with watercolour, it dries twice as light as when you put it on, so you want to make it approximately twice as dark to start with, because it's going to disappear, it's going to go back. So I want her quite light there in the sunlight. I'm just using the rose into the cobalt violet. I'm going to do the same with the woman's arm while it's still wet. We're doing this wet into wet while it's still wet. Same on this girl's face here. Same on that woman's face there. Going to make it a bit stronger. Building it up gradually down. I'm going to take some of my cobalt again, cobalt blue, and let that come into the shadows of this girl here. All the way, just letting it come down into that cobalt violet I painted earlier, just tickling it in, letting it mix on the paper. Her hair, woman's hair is blue here in the shadow, so you don't paint grey with black and white or use Payne's grey and things like that. We're going to use definite colours, and the whole of her dress in the same blue. While I'm at it, got the colour on my brush. The master class again, here we go, you see. Let's see if you can keep up with it. Right through, down, it comes all the way down here. We're going to put darker across that in a moment. Come down into her legs a little bit there as well. It's quite dark. A little bit more of the ultramarine blue now, a little bit stronger. While I'm doing these figures, I'm going to come down to that girl now, right down to her darker greens down here. I'm going to put darker into that in just a moment, using ultramarine blue there now, and bring that ultramarine blue down into these areas here. So we're bringing this woman out a little bit deeper blue now into her here. Now I'm going to go across to my indigo, which is my deepest sort of blacker blue, if you like. It's the darkest blue we're going to be using. And while this is still wet, remember it's dropping downwards because the paintings are vertical. I'm going to paint this dress in dark against the light here. So we're playing warm against cool, rough against smooth, light against dark in our paintings. Right round her arm, letting that dark just work in. That leg there is quite dark, so a couple of flicks, but we selected a little bit more slick now. Just a couple of flicks for the legs. Don't start painting it too detailed. We've been pretty detailed as it is. She wants to be darker down here, so using that indigo, the whole of this bit here, quite dark down there. Just flick down, a little bit of dry brush work there then. Her head's dark, so while I've got that colour on my brush, I'm going to paint the dark of her hair in. This paint over here now is dry, so I can paint wet against dry or wet on dry, which is giving me a sharper edge in between. We've got that little group of figures that are in quite detail. I can go a bit darker still, so I'm going to now take my last coat, if you like, a little bit of burnt sienna, and add the burnt sienna to the blue that I just had, the indigo, and just finish off with a little bit of the very dark into here, and just catching the light. We're going to go back and do a little bit more in the face of the woman here, because we want to be a little bit darker in tone yet. Her hair is darker. The guy's hair here is darker on the back. We just bring him out. That girl's hair as well, little bits of detail, light against dark. The stronger the light, the stronger the difference between light and darks. If you've got a very dull day, the tones are much closer. But we've got a strong light like this, these tones are quite strong in difference between them. And there's our little group of figures in sunlight, almost there. So we'll take a bit more of the burnt sienna, and just thinly, I want to darken her face down a bit, that side. This woman especially, her whole face is much darker, and the arm. So we've got our little group of light figures. Then we move across to these two figures where the tones are slightly darker, although I shall make him slightly lighter on that top just to catch the light coming through. Now to these figures now I'm going to take another cobalt, so I'm going to take some cerulean again, or in my case I'm going to use some turquoise here, and just paint that light down through here, right down there. On the other side of his arm is the coat, is the cobalt, which is very different. Just down to his arm there. Then I'm going to come with that cobalt down to his jeans, and I'm going to make this very simple, this bit of painting. Now, just want to flick his leg in, so just a couple of strokes like that. 1, 2, quick as that. Keep them loose, a little bit of light paper showing through. While I've got that on my brush, I'll do the same with the guy next to him. Come across here and a little bit stronger with the blue. Just a couple of flicks to get his legs in. So 1, 2. We've got 2 legs, as quick as that. Don't overdo it. Got to work some blue through there. I'm going to take some of the rose again and drop in the rose all the way down that figure, because I'm going to drop some warmer colour in a minute. There's no reason we can't use lots of colour and watercolour. No reason we have to be limited palette. Can be, but we don't have to be. Right through down to there. Bit of warmth into there. Bit of warmth into his jeans. Just dropping it in here and there. Look. Keep your brush marks simple. Keep it going nice and simply. While I've got that on my brush, right the way through his head and through his face here. We've got that warmer colour. Now I'm going to go down to my mixture, the dark mixture again. While it's still wet, just paint some of these darks in, just indicate them, top of his head here, back of his head here, and see how quickly those figures form. Right across here, all the way down through, down to the jeans and back of his leg, just catching the light. And there's our figures. Quick as that, just a few brush marks. Keep it simple. Right, so that's part of our salient points. Now we'll come up to this lamp here, and the lamp itself can be left light, but what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of the aureolin yellow there, just to lighten it up a bit, on one edge especially like that. And I'm going to use a bit of that quincadrone gold up top here. You see that sort of rather rusty yellow colour, which is quite fun. And into that I'm going to drop a little bit of burnt sienna to make it a bit warmer. Just let that happen there as a detail. Simple as that. So we're painting salient points at the moment. Points that we just want a little to catch the eye with, our focal area here and so on. Now a lot of this is to do with timing, especially when we really get going in a minute with the main background. We are painting an impressionist painting, even though we're starting fairly tightly. We are going to be painting a fairly impressionist painting. And while that's drying, I'm just going to take a little bit of dark here and just paint in already, because we can paint over this with the washes we're going to do. I'm going to paint in this little line of the bar that's holding up. So I'm going to use some cerulean blue now and drop in where the shadow is down here, right down to there, where that cool is, right through here. Now don't worry if you need a little bit of white here and there. If you've got, I know you're not using a rough paper, but which I am. That isn't the worry at the moment. So cerulean blue, right through the sky, nice big wash. Leaving a little bit of sparkle of the paper if you want. Right down through here. All the way down, even on the windows a bit here. I think I'm going to play straight away with the cools there, to down those bits of window, straight away where the blue shutters are here, these light shutters. Just keep it simple, keep your brush marks very simple. I'm leaving a little bit of light paper showing through. I don't want to make it totally dark. Just single brush strokes. You're simplifying, stylising everything really. Now while it's still wet, we're going to keep this going while it's still wet, all the way down through here. The whole of this is going to be wet now. We're going to do this while it's still wet. So don't worry about leaving a bit of sparkling with paper. If it does show, don't worry about that. Right the way down. If it's a bit stronger somewhere, then you can make it stronger somewhere. So I'll put a little bit of extra blue just here because it's a bit stronger in those shadows there. It's a very rapid way to work. I've done this actually painting out in Portugal and places like this. It's an absolutely gorgeous way to do it. So if it's bluer somewhere, you make it a bit bluer. If it's not, you make it a bit thinner. Watch your flowers here. We're going to leave those flowers as without so much blue in. And that blue comes all the way through down here. The shadows here. You'll notice I've already signed my painting because I used a Chinograph pencil, which means I can paint straight over it. It won't move, which is quite fun. Right, so painting that in just lovely and loose, a little bit of sparkle paper coming through, right the way down here. Thin coat of cerulean. We've already got an effect of light. Now back in there, I'm going to take a little bit of my cadmium red. There are so many permutations, there's no one right way. I'm going to just drop that in this bit here, just tickle it on where these chimneys are here. Of course it doesn't come down too far, it doesn't really matter if it does, because we're working on the vertical. Now back to my ultramarine blue. We've already wet the paint so they're ready to go. And drop in the ultramarine here, straight downwards, across through there and down, leaving the lighter blue there now showing out, right through here, a little bit of ultramarine down there as well. And that's coming all the way down there into this cerulean blue. Bit of blue behind there, so it's wet into wet to get the atmosphere. We'll drop a bit more into that in a moment, down here. Now, plenty of it. It'll start coming in here now. So watch where these stronger blues are now. We can start to just drop some of those in. Just feeling away with the brush, just tickling with the brush.
So mine is already dry.
Ah, you've got to get in there while it's make it plenty of wet. And if it's gone dry, now you use your brush, just wet your brush and just wet the edges a bit. Just tickle it on, let it drop down. It's a feeling with this watercolour.
Yeah,
It's
it is, I know.
you know, it's something I can teach you by showing you to a degree. But really, I'm going to use these brushes. We could use a flat brush for this if we wanted to get the end right. But I'm just going to use these brushes just to get a feeling of this coming down here. So quite loosely. If you prefer, you can use one of your little flats to get this in more detail. I want to keep this nice and loose. Now I've got to do this while it's still wet. So on we go again. Now I'm going to go back up to here and just, while it's drying off, just go in a bit stronger there with the texturing. Just get the feeling of these tiles up here, behind.
Mine's it's dry already.
Yeah, it's going to dry fairly quickly, but you've got to work very, very fast. Now we're going to go on to a different colour. We're going to go on to the yellow ochre. And I'm going to drop quite a strong coat of yellow ochre in here, all the way across again, right the way down and through, across this blue, all these lovely warms coming in here. We've got the blue showing through, right down through here, wherever it is, through there. Now this is going to allow us to paint wet into wet again, you see. We're going to go right down through. We've got the blue just glowing through, but if we can let that come into the wet paint, so it's slightly wetter there, you can just see I'm using this, and it is timing, it is difficult. You've got to know with watercolour just how wet something's going to be. In no way, and I'm leaving a bit of that's in it, so I'm using the rough paper now here to get the effect of the stonework a bit, which you haven't got, but that's not to worry. You would be better off with that paper than you would have been with other stuff, because other stuff was even smoother, wasn't it? It was hot press. So right the way down, leaving little bits of light showing through to give the illusion of the configurations on the wall. That's right. So thinner coats here, letting the white glow through. We're catching the light. And build up. We've got to do this while it's still wet, which is why I couldn't stop. Now around these figures here, doesn't maybe go slightly over the figures even. Just letting the light show there. Plenty of light, plenty of white paper left. Right down around here. Get strong as it comes down around here. Quite thin washes. Just dragging the brush over. We don't even need the square brushes for this. We'll see. I mean, I use my my mop here to do those shutters at the moment, but we might come back onto that. So there we've got the light behind already, bringing that across these blues, the warm into the blues here. Don't be afraid to drag it downward. It's like feeling of a wet street. Loads and loads of nice wet. Now get darker. Now I've got these flowers down here, and at this stage I want to put in some colour for these flowers. I'm going to use a little bit of the cobalt violet again that we used earlier. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's you can teach almost any technique of painting stage by stage, almost for chimps, you know. Yeah. But you can't with watercolour. You can show somebody, but then they've got to do it to get the feel of it. Yeah. And it might be you've got to do half a dozen of these. And sometimes even I need to, well, even I, but sometimes I need to loosen up and do a couple of watercolours before I go into doing the watercolour, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I haven't done watercolours for a long time.
Because, well, that's what you've got to be loose for it. Now I'm going to take that cobalt violet while it's going and just drop it in to other places here. It's a lovely colour. While I see it on in my painting, I'll just drop it in all over where it can be here to get these violets and purple. which now links with that figure over there. Now I've got to go a stage darker, so the next thing now is to come up and make a mixture of the yellow ochre and a bit of burnt sienna. We're going to go warmer. Get some more warmer colours in, and some of that warmer colour is down here, so I'm going to put in that door straight away, and down behind them here. See, I'm doing almost everything in single strokes, virtually straight in. You've got to be very bold and brave. Make your colour, put it down, leave it alone. There's nothing worse than people who play with it too much afterwards. You've got to do it and leave it alone. Put it on and leave it alone, nice and fresh. We can drop into that in a moment. Here, I want to put some more of this warm up into here. Just picking out some of the details a little bit more now here, and up into the shadows here. Pick out those details just a bit more. Coming down here, much warmer now. Some of these windows we can start to show them. If they're open, for instance. Now I'm going to go darker here still, so I'm going to take more of the burnt sienna, and now I'm going to start to add my ultramarine to it. So I'm really going to go quite dark now and warm. Find these windows, start to find these windows here. And we're building up our watercolour now. Building up these tones, they go darker and darker. They're really going to give us some life. Letting the wet flow one into another, and it's all controlled accident. Can put more cooling when I want to, this way. We can start to leave the lights behind if we've got a serration there, for instance. Right down, dark down there, down to this step here, it's dark behind here. Slight bit of light blue left behind there. I can start to indicate these bits of the building now. But you see what I'm trying to do, don't you? Even if you struggle doing it, it's just good to try it.
No.
That's right. And if you see it being done and you're trying next to it, well, it'll come. It's just, you keep at it. So we're playing light against dark, so we're going to play this lovely, strong shadow of this wall against the darks. While that's still a bit wet, we'll drop in some more shadow across here and really pick out the light of those figures in the background there. And it really does get quite dark under here amongst these flowers. Now we can go a bit darker and start to drop in, gradually building up bit by bit. All this dark here, a bit more blue in there perhaps to make it cooler. There's a shadow coming out from these people here. Behind here. When I've got it on my brush, we'll start to indicate that. But keep it going whilst it's still wet, that's the point, because if it goes dry, you've got problems.
That's already a problem.
And I'm having the same here, we've got to just keep going at it. You can wet the paper again and come back. This isn't a... but we've got to keep at it. Trellis work there, I'll just work that in. All going to be soft edges merging one into another gradually here. and building it up and up and up, more and more and more, with the burnt sienna and the ultramarine, getting stronger and stronger. So I flattened my brush there, dry brush, just to pick up tiles. Again, same thing down here, just indicate that. Find these nice medieval beams. Get some lovely colour effects. To be a bit bluer there, so I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and just give that a second wash. Same down here, a little bit darker just there. A bit more blue down there. Indicating everything again gradually. Right down through into here. I'm going to go darker still. So more ultramarine. Won't be long before I now go to using a much deeper, the Prussian blue or the indigo. Not long now. And we just drop in, and of course the thicker we make the paint, now we've used the paint very light, but now I'm just starting to use it with more pigment in, so I'm using a lot more pigment in my brushwork. Less water, in other words, even though it's wet into wet, that's doing enough for me. Down and through here, very dark just down there. I'm going to go very dark in just a moment. Really let these lights come out now, strong darks against light. We can just start to indicate in the stronger shadows now. Again, we can use a smaller brush for this if you want to make salient points, but a bit more warmth in that shadow there. Same here, that shadow a bit stronger. So we want to show sunlight, we need to put very strong lights and darks. And we can get away with quite a big brush, you can see, for quite a while before having to use a smaller one. Right, now I'm going to go to the stronger colours I was talking about. I'm going to start using some indigo and my burnt sienna and really drop in some darks, really go very, very much stronger now. Just indicating these details of the stonework here. Windows and pots and whatever that are hanging around. Leave those behind by painting around them, look. So quite heavy paint now as well, quite a lot of pigment in my brushwork. Right down to here. Playing more brown or more blue as I wish as I do these darks. Just indicating things that are going along the stonework there. And let the viewer do the work. You don't want to have the viewer being lazy. We're going to make them do some work for themselves and look at this painting of ours. So you see how I'm using the controlled accident here now of just letting these colours come one into another down here and playing the different warms with the blues to really get these strong shadows coming through. We're going to put final details on in a moment, we don't have to do them yet. Back up into here again, and I'm going to use this very strong colour up here. Another glazing into there, and just dropping into those darks to really get the feeling of that strong sunlight. Same here, little bits strong shadow against the light. Textures here of the plant. I'm going to put a little bit of green into there in just a moment. Can still drop in dark into dark. Constantly I can keep working on this. As it dries, the areas are softening, but also as it dries, they're going to gradually get harder edged. So the more of this detail I do, the more of the detail is actually going to show after a while, which is now just starting to give you an impression of the wall being here. Last scene is, if we were there sketching, we'd have this just about finished already. We wouldn't need to do too much more. If I wanted a wet day, I could start dragging colour through here. We'll look at that in just a moment. What I want to do now is start to pick out some of the details. So I'm going to come back to this rose again here. And just drop in while it's still wet. Just drop a bit more of this rose back into here. Wet into wet, just to strengthen that. Bit of flower up there, letting it come into the wet into wet paint I got earlier, just to really give that effect. And up here we've got a bit of that rose coming into the background. Pick it up. And a little bit of purple as well. So I'm going to take some of my purple, press it down here to get the cool of the flower here. How that purple draws that forward. There's no one answer, we explore each painting by its own merits as we go along here. That's a nice lively work in itself already. So details. This is now where I start to come back into the details. Now I'm going to take a little flat brush and just look at these shutters. So some of the mix I made earlier with the dark, and let's just see if we can start to flick in some of these shutters. So this is the Prussian blue, or indigo if you like. Quite strong now. We're using very dark against what I said earlier in the introduction to this film about using a round brush for round objects and a square brush for square objects. Makes sense. Keep your lines going in perspective, but they don't have to be exact. Make sure your perspective continues on this. So wherever there's a straight edge now, I can just pop it in with my wee, and I can do any dry brush work like this, look. You see how the stiffer brushes allow me to do a little bit of dry brush here and there. Just using the paint a little bit more heavily, I can just flick in some of the grasses and textures coming down here. Take a little bit of sap green, just to drop a bit of green into here. And it'll play against those reds, remembering that green is the opposite in the colour circle. And I'm using it quite thickly because I'm painting into quite strong paint here. But I'm just going to indicate that we've got plants and things happening. Now, I used my small flat just now for doing these, but I'm going to need a smaller one still, it seems. So if you haven't got a flat that'll do the job, that's that small, I mean it's just in between, then you just go back to your round again and you can flick these things in with the round instead. So we've worked tight to loose, and now we've gone back again and we're working loose to tight. So I'm gradually tightening up now. Let's say we've got these strong darks against lights because of the strong sunlight effect we want to get. And you can see how, having done the details earlier, it's allowed me just to paint loosely around those and not have to put them all in now. Finally, come back to our shadows. And now I can do much more detail. Let's work around this archway here a bit more carefully. Salient points, as I was saying earlier. And feel the shadow coming down into there. Bit of dry brush work just down there. Bit of shadow happening. Because it's a very hard thing to do. It looks easy. But it's not as easy as it looks, is it?
No. But it's lovely. I love the watercolours.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, all of these ways of working looser. What we're going to do next time, so we've done the acrylic inks and pastel loose. We've done the acrylics loose with the rollers. You have to next think, what do you want to do? What's the next project demo while we're doing this series?
don't know.
Let's have a think. This is where we can start to play with sharper edges if we want them anywhere. But the thing now is not to go too far. We've got it loose. We want to keep it.
to say about.
Now for me as a loose watercolour, I'm about done, I think. Just going to add just a couple more strokes with my flat of some warms. Just take a little bit of the yellow ochre and a touch of cadmium orange, in fact. Just a little bit of cadmium orange just to go into these areas here a bit messy, but cadmium orange, cadmium yellow, just to brighten up some of these shadows coming up through here. So cadmium yellow, a little bit of cadmium orange, just into some of these shadows in the wall over here. And for me, I wouldn't do much more on that. And you've done very well over there too, actually. That's not bad. No, there's some lovely things. There's some lovely things happening in there. Don't be so bashful. Just going to add one or two little bits more of the deep blue in the shadows here and there. That's all. And there we are. I think we'll call that one done.